Um, it's a pleasure for me to present Marta Roma. Big applause for Marta Roma. Marta Roma was a Berkeley student, but she was not at the institute until she decided to apply for the master. And I still remember when we did the interview on Skype with Matt and Danilo, and she was in Spain, and she didn't know that we could see her. She just thought that we could see, she could see us. Right, she didn't see anything, and she was in the living room, and she didn't know we were watching you. And then it was and then when she knew, she couldn't believe it that we were watching everything. And when she came to the program, I was I've been her advisor from the beginning, and yeah, okay, yeah. You like the story? Yeah, that was funny. What I want to say about Marta is that as her advisor from the first semester, it was really incredible to see her coming in with a certain aesthetic, with certain ideas, and of course with a big experience as a cello player, and really embarking a total new, different, and complementary direction, I would say, and that you'll see here in this presentation. And I know there's, a lot of it with the teachers that she had, not only in the institute, and actually I would like to acknowledge, I see Eugene is here, so big clap for Eugene. Thank you for coming. And Mike them too. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. And I would also like to acknowledge Matt Marvulio, who is in the panel requested by her. So Matt, thank you. And Marta is all for you.
Cuando vuelva a tu lado, no me niegues tus besos, que el amor que te he dado no podrás olvidar. No me preguntes nada, que nada he de explicarte, que el beso que negaste ya no lo puedes dar. Cuando vuelva a tu lado y esté a solas, las cosas que te digo, no repitas jamás por compasión. Estrechame en tus brazos y cuenta los latidos de nuestro corazón. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I'm super happy to be here presenting the culminating experience of this year that it has been amazing. Amazing for me in a lot of different aspects. And today is the day, I guess, to present this project. And this project is the result of all my influences and connections that I had musically and personally during all my life. And to do that, I need to tell you a little bit about my story. And my story starts in this little town called Cantoni-Gros, which is in the north of Spain, in Catalonia. And it's really small. We are 300 people. We have one street. That's it. And so here am I, when I'm this little girl. And it's funny because the soundtrack of my childhood there in this little place in Catalonia in Spain, it was American jazz from the 30s, because my grandfather had this amazing collection of vinyls, and that's what we were listening when we had lunch together, and we went go outside, and when we are driving with my family. My dad is also a big fan of jazz and also a big fan of world music in general. So I had a lot of inputs with this music, which was not Catalan music, which wasn't like flamenco. And that for me was my music. But then, when I was 6, I started playing the cello, and I was really going into the classical repertoire, and that was also my music. So I didn't really pay attention of, okay, what's my music? I didn't realize at that time. I was just doing it, and it was later on when I did my studies in Barcelona, and I started like traveling, I started teaching, and I was wondering like, wow, with my cello, with my instrument, I just play this kind of repertoire. What about all the music I love and I have at home and I live in my daily life? So at some point I switched to trumpet because I wanted to play jazz. I thought, oh, the cello doesn't play anything like that, so let me move and let me do something different. But then I realized that, okay, the trumpet is not my instrument. Let me do that with the cello, and then I was getting more curious and, of course, studying more and traveling around the world playing, and I was like, I don't know what's my music. And then I had for me, it's when the world really becomes small, and you see that I play music from a different country, but I'm from this country, and then I go to that country, and the people from there play music from there, so everything gets connected and smaller in a really nice way, you know? And that's how I conceived the project, and that's why, for me, music is the recipe that makes the world smaller and connected. And then I had the opportunity to come to this amazing city and this amazing scene and community here at Berkeley, and especially this last year at the Global Jazz Institute, that was like the final stretch and really completed in a really powerful way my studies here. So the result, it was for me now the time doing this project to kind of organize these ideas and influences, musically influences that I had, and put it in a musical project. So here I am today, trying to figure out, okay, what's my music, what's my project, and I feel so lucky to have had the experience to do that here. And for that, I had to clarify my goals and think about, okay, how I'm gonna do this, because as Marco told me at the beginning, it's like, you shouldn't do that something that you can do now for today. You should do something that you need all this year to think about it and evolve your ideas. And it really was interesting to see the process, how it changed. My first idea was like, I'm gonna do a cello method, and then, you know, I ended up recording my own music. And through these advising sessions, I was like, keep changing and looking at all my fellow students here, which is amazing. And so some of the goals, I wanted to do something new, of course, and challenging for me. And one of the things is compose. I always had this thing like, I don't compose, I don't have my music, and I was also like, So I did it for the project. I did arrange before, but this time I wanted to go a little farther with my arranging skills and apply the knowledge received during this year here and play with instrumentation and orchestration and using some new rhythms or voicings, or so to try to to apply all this knowledge that I got here from the Institute. And also, maybe I was doing things before with me and the cello, but it was the time and collaborating with a lot of other people and ensembles, and I record a lot. But now was the time to put it, my thing, in a band setting and put myself in the role of the leader. And that's really challenging. But it was also a great opportunity to do it here with these amazing people around me, with all the support. And I'm always so passionate, and through the inspiration I get from these amazing cellists that I knew first from YouTube, and then they became my teacher. I was like, wow. So to show that this instrument is an amazing instrument with a lot of versatile possibilities, so I tried to explore and feature the cello in the tunes that I record, like differently in each tune, in each piece. So for now, I would like to go and introduce the music I record. That these are the, oops, here. I recorded 5 tunes, and 2 of them are originals. And then I did 2 versions of songs that I love. And so now I would like to go one by one and play a little bit of my recordings. That the recording session, as Matt asked before, it was a great opportunity, I think, for us to have this project and have this time at the studio to really record and try to be the producer, the player, the composer, the arranger, to bring food for the musicians. That's like, wow. It's really good training for us, and it was amazing experience. So let's go to the music. And the first tune, it's called Connessione, and in this piece, I was like also always thinking like, okay, the cello as a bass, the cello as a harmonic instrument, the cello as a percussive, and then I was like, oh wait, I think I'm missing the cello as a melodic instrument. But because we are so used to it, I played all the classical repertoire, but I was like, okay, I need a piece with a melody. And I wrote this one. It was one of my first experience writing, and it just came like a day that I was so moved. I had a really strong feeling inside, and I just needed to play, and I played, and it came out like this, and it came out like a tango. So here the cello really plays a melody, a romantic melody, but I also introduced some accompanying, playing chords and bass lines, and adding some improvisation on it. So Connessione sounds like this. Thank you. This is still a work in progress with the production of the audio. So the next tune is called De Gener a Gener. This is in Catalan and means from January to January. And this is my other original. And in this one, I was just playing around the cello and exploring with some voicings and trying to experiment with other textures and playing around with open strings. And that just became a cello solo piece that I'm going to play a part of it for you now. That's a little part of it. And with this one, I wanted to play a little bit around and experiment with it and arrange it for a bigger band. And it does still have the pizzicato cello part, but I wanted to play with orchestration, and I had this idea, like, suddenly I want 4 trombones in this tune, and I was like, wow. And I told Eugene, I remember, he said, wow, 4 trombones, why is that? And then I realized that that also comes from my childhood, because I remember my dad had this record with 4 trombones, and he was putting us to sleep, like when we were babies with my brother, singing like, you know, like this. And I think this sound is in me somehow, so I don't know, I just had this idea. And then so I stretched the form of the tune. I put some open sections to put some zero gravity in the tune, and experiment with the rhythm, the 12/8 abacois that we also talk a lot about in the Institute. And this is a really long piece now that I put some parts together for you to hear how it sounds. It should sound something. I don't know why it's not working. Let me start again. Now. That's it. The next tune, it's in standard. I had to do it. I love this music. I love singing this music. I think about my grandfather, and I choose this one. And especially because also I think the relation between the cello and the tenor sax, they are really related in terms of range and sound, and we can do it too. And then I took the opportunity to write this shout chorus, and I did arrangements before from jazz standard for string quartet or string orchestra. But this time I wanted to put the cello with the horns and be dealing with them. So I wrote it for trumpet, tenor sax, cello, and trombone. And to work on the vocabulary that we did also work with Alan Chase in the class. And then was singing and playing and improvising while singing too. And this, I wanted to go to the traditional sound and style and vocabulary. And it sounds like this.
Waiting each night for someone exactly like you. Why should we spend money on a shower too, when no one does those love scenes exactly like you? You make me feel so grand. I wanna give the world to you. You make me understand those foolish little schemes I'm scheming, dreams I'm dreaming. I know why my mother taught me to be true. She made me for someone exactly like you. I know what I've waited, I know why I've been blue, waiting each night for someone exactly like you. Why should we spend money on a show or two, when no one does those love scenes exactly like you? You make me feel so grand. I wanna give the world to you.
Sorry. That's it. And the last tune is the one I performed for you at the beginning. And this is actually when I was thinking about what standard to do, I wanted to do what a difference a day makes. And when I went to the advising, Marco said, "Don't you know that this is a Mexican tune and it has lyrics in Spanish?" And I was like, wow, no, I didn't know. And I checked it out and I fell in love with it. It's beautiful, and it's by Maria Greber, the Mexican composer. So I decided to do it, and I like the essence of it because boleros are also part of my childhood, and we always sing boleros with my brother and my grandfather. And so I wanted to do the introduction as I did for you, but then I wanted to, in this case, to feature the cello as a more rhythmic instrument and play some chops, this technique that we do with the bow. And I played in a 6/8 feel, and I wrote a soli for mandolin, bass, and cello, and also improvisation on it. And it sounds like this. I don't know, it doesn't sound like this. It sounds like this.
Y cuenta los latidos de nuestro corazón.
Thank you. So that was the last tune, and of course, all of this, it would be so hard to do it alone, which it was challenging because a lot of things I had to do it alone as a first time as a leader of a project, and as I said, it involved a lot of different aspects, but I was so lucky to have my friends with me with all their support and love and good music and good playing, and that's the team, and I want to thank you all for being there always. Noam, Eduardo, Edmund, Hayden, and Mao that played for me. Leith, my dear friend and little brother, that was my producer. And also, I want to thank you, Marco, for being my advisor and going through the process with me during the year. Thank you so much. And my special guest that came to play, and also the engineers. Thank you so much. I feel so lucky to be here. This year has been amazing. And I love you all. Thank you.
Marta Roma. Give it up for Marta Roma one more time, please.
Yeah. Marta, that was beautiful. You know, I want to tell you that I'm a flute geek. You know what a flute geek is, right? So what I say to you, don't take badly. I mean it in a very positive way. You know, you know, about flute jazz, I think it's the same as string jazz. It's very difficult to play the flute and play jazz and play string and play jazz because you have to change your articulation in a way that you're not taught, because in the classical tradition, you're taught to do space and lift, and in the jazz tradition, you're taught to nga, 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 nga. And you know, going back to your audition, your first audition, when I heard that, you know, you sound like a wonderful player, and I thought what would happen over the year and a few months or a few weeks would be that you would really develop a jazz sound on the cello, and I think you have. You know, when I listen to you play pizzicato and even your arco, you even get a modern jazz sound, which I think is very difficult to do on a string instrument, you know, because Matt Glazer and I talk about this all the time. You know, it's like, so how do you articulate jazz eighth notes on the violin? And he goes this, and he says, yeah, but it isn't really right. Well, try this. I mean, the way I'm talking a little more like this. And then when you hear classical players, they talk more like this, you know, the whole kind of thing. And really, your whole package, what I hear is, which I think takes analysis, is what you're doing when you get that jazz sound and then go back and get the classical sound, is that you really understand what you're doing, so you never blend the two together. You know, where you're playing in the cracks of, you know, if it's Bach like that, you can do it that way. But, you know, Garzone says, you know, he says that some of his students would be a lot better if they didn't have a tongue. You know, because what you would do, a lot of times what people do when they articulate, they push the time with their tongue. You know, there's a whole different thing. And that's a very difficult thing to do on a string instrument. And I think over this past year, I hear that. And I hear it in your singing, too. I remember, you know, before it was more detached. And what happens, I think it sounds like an older style of swing, you know, almost like the Stefan Grappelli style. But what I hear is like you're in the 21st century with your phrasing. And you know, it's really good to hear a cello geek. I mean, you're really a cello geek. I mean, congratulations, and please don't lose that geekiness. I mean, keep going, because I think you're really putting the cello in a direction that it hasn't gone, and I think you have a great future in your cello playing, so keep it up.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you much. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really impressed too with your sense of rhythm, because I think you might be one of the first string players, especially cello, that I feel such a strong sense of rhythm from. I don't know what you sounded like. I didn't hear you before this year, so I don't know what you sounded like before, but you know that I've played with, you know, other classical players, and you know, you just have problems with time, so you kind of take away that myth, or sometimes it's not a myth, of bad time with string players. So that's great, because you feel like, you know, like you said, you know, it's very percussive, so you really did work that out. That's great. And we did a lot of talking about standards and improvising and what is jazz and what's not, and you're feeling frustrated about where you fit in that. And so I wasn't sure really what to expect, I mean, until the last few weeks. But you just really found yourself and found your voice. And it reminded me of something that Duke Ellington said, which is, but does it sound good? And so, you know, it doesn't matter almost everything else. You know, what matters is at the end of the day, does it sound good? And for me, I mean, it's so enjoyable to listen to you play and sing. And I didn't even know you sang until, you know, a few weeks back. You hid that from us. I would have loved to have seen you sing more throughout the year and work on that, develop that parallel to your cello playing at the Institute, but I don't know, you have time still to even work on that some more. But your voice, your singing voice, I go back to hearing how you hear things, and because you can hear how to interpret and how to get a good sound with your singing voice that spills over to your cello voice as well. My question would be too, what goals do you have for furthering all of this as far as making people maybe see the instrument differently and developing your own, I don't want to say jazz even, because it's not really about the label of what the music is, but developing that. Because I was actually hearing possibilities of you with other string players that can do the same thing, or that can approach it the same way, that would be compatible with you. And I haven't really heard much of that done in a way that is appealing to me. So, but I feel like you could do it in a way that's appealing to people that don't generally focus on that instrument.
Well, thank you, first of all. And I think I have to keep doing and keep writing more and exploring in that way, and try to record more, to play more. And always I love teaching and I love sharing the idea. And I've been so lucky to be in this string department with cellists like Mike, that he's an amazing rhythmic cellist. And so, because we can do it, and I want to keep sharing this idea and developing my sound as much as I can, and let the string players know, or the little kids that start playing cello, that we can do it, and how to do it, right? And it's what you said, it's not about the label. I'm kind of tired of, what do you play cello? You play in an orchestra. It's like, no, I play music. That's it. And that's what I want to keep working on it and sharing as much as I can in the best way I can.
Great. Well, congratulations, and good job with the trombones. I remember when you mentioned that. I was like, wow, okay. But it sounds great. And your writing, too. Really nice. I heard a little Beatles in there in your original.
Yeah.
But really strong song. So congratulations.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you.
Marta, we've known each other for a few years now.
Yeah.
And I guess mostly with conversations about your direction, about how to manage this wonderful place we call Berklee College of Music, your path. And I say brava, you have found something that is uniquely yours, your space here, and you are still like you're in kindergarten, it seems. You know, you're expanding, you're eating it all up. And I love to see that. You even look differently than when we met.
Older, probably.
You look more like you. I think before you were, I don't know, you were a little bit, you're more expansive now.
Thank you.
Brava.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you so much.
Well, Marta, I resonate with everything that Matt says, and of course, Terry and Carl. But I think there's also something that I saw you this year that I think is very important, and I think Danilo tells you, you know, we were talking with you about it, and there's so much more than the cello. You know, the cello is only, you know, the instrument you're using right now, but I think this year, what you should reflect upon is that you really discover yourself as a musician. You know, that plays the cello. It could be, you could be playing the flute or the saxophone, it doesn't matter. And I don't think you were aware of that. And when we talk with Matt and Danilo about the Institute, you know, we talk about restoration and we talk about transformation. And I think you really went through a process of transformation this year. But at the end, this transformation was only to really find yourself. So you transform yourself by finding who you are and finding things that you probably didn't know that you could do. So my suggestion as your advisor all this year is that you really have to think less about the cello and think more about you as a musician and all the things you're showing with your writing, your arranging, your singing is really amazing to me. Marta Roma.
Thank you, Marcos. Thank you so much.